Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So the Wildhearts TCG Kickstarter has gone live, and almost every day now we've been getting a little bit of teases from it for all the alt arts. So what I want to do is go ahead and go gather up the alt arts as well as reveal for you guys a brand new alt art that I was given to show in this video today. So that's pretty sweet. As well as let's just look at all the cards from set 1 that we haven't really seen yet, that aren't included in the starter deck, so we haven't really covered them a whole bunch. So let's go ahead and jump into those set 1 reveals. Now what I've done here is they have a spread of all the cards currently available for play in the simulator, as well as all the cards that have been shown off so far. So what I've done is I've flipped down all the starter deck cards. Those are the ones that we already covered in past videos where we did the starter deck breakdowns. So we're just looking at basically all the set 1 cards that they have revealed so far for us. So it looks like it's 3 cards per style here, as well as 1 familiar per style and 4 extra fields. So a decent amount of reveals so far. Talking with the guys, they were saying that they really like what a lot of companies are starting to go towards, and that's not reveal everything, right? That's in a set before it releases. There's multiple reasons for doing something like that, but it's definitely a lot more popular. It's getting a lot more popular, I should say, for a lot of games. So let's go ahead and let's just go starting with Might here. We've got a new familiar in the form of the Tornado here. It's a 5 power debut. You may swap 2 friendly creatures in different fields. So it doesn't have to be just him. It can be him and another familiar. It's creatures, so it's super generic. So you just pick anything you want. You may swap 2 friendly creatures. So they do have to be on your side. But that's pretty neat. There's some fields, like we're going to get to in a minute, where you might not be able to play a creature into that field for whatever reason. So you could essentially play this to that field and then swap in something else with it. So that's cool. And then ongoing as an action, you may discard a card from your hand to deploy Tornado. So in case the opponent, KOs them and they go back to the bench, or they send them back to the bench and avoid the KO mechanic entirely, you can just discard a card and bring him right back out, which we know synergizes very well with the Ferocity familiar from the starter deck that says when you discard a card, give an opposing creature -1 power. If it's a skill card, it's -2 power instead, right? So, and then this, you get to pick the card, so you can always guarantee that you're going to have that skill card. So that's really cool. Yeah, I like the synergy there. Next, we have the Jelly Cane. I have a love-hate relationship with this. If you can, get the hits on this card, it's wildly good. But if you can't, like me, I have terrible luck with this card, then it's not a feel good. It is a 4 power special, which I think might be the highest printed power for special, or at least one of. It has debut. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 to reveal. If it's a 1 cost or lower, move an ally in this field. 2 cost, give an opposing ally in this field -2 power. 3 cost or more, trigger 1 support effect in your resource row. That last one is really nice, especially if you have something like a lucky hat that just says you get to draw 1. Like, drawing is pretty limited in this game, so being able to trigger that draw is pretty nice. Just the flexibility of it is really cool. You get to reveal 2 cards and pick which one you want to use. But then put the cards you looked at on the bottom of your deck in any order. So that also, it kind of hurts, right? So you reveal them, you look at them, you decide which one you want to reveal. And it says up to 1, so I guess you wouldn't have to reveal any if you didn't want to give that knowledge away. And then you put those cards on the bottom. So you have the knowledge in your head of, okay, those 2 cards, they're at the bottom of the deck, so my likelihood of drawing into like a duplicate copy or, whatever, you have that knowledge. So that's you can use that to your advantage. Next, we have the Trossum here of debut, play 1 mirror image token in a different field. Ongoing each round, when your first friendly ally is KO'd, put them in your hand instead. This is really powerful. Just being able to recycle cards, all your creatures over and over. It's only the first one per round, but that's still really powerful. Keep in mind, it's just any friendly ally here. So when they're KO'd, which would include the tokens, which is really interesting. If the mirror image token gets KO'd, then it comes back to hand. So it's a token creature that actually can get put back to hand. And then let's look at those mirror image tokens right quick. So it's a 0 cost, 1 power, so not super strong, but it has Guardian. And when this ally is KO'd, banish this card. But yeah, so it's a free Guardian creature that you just throw out every time you debut. So every time you debut the Trossum, it's like boom, like Guardian on field, boom, Guardian on field. And so you just kind of move the Trossum around, and then you just, by turn 3, you have a Guardian in every single field. If you have any cards that might trigger your debut effects, then you could get maybe more value out of it that way as well. So you could really fill up your fields. You got to be kind of careful, because in the Battle Royale, I want to say, no, not the Battle Royale, it was in the Content Creator Cup. I ended up really flooding my field with way too many mirror images, so it was pretty rough. And then the ongoing there is really powerful, because you can like play something like an Adult, right, that's gonna blow up one of your opponent's creatures, and then your opponent blows it up, and then you just get to play it right back out, because you're gonna bounce it to hand. So that's cool. The Trossum really strong. 5 printed power, I believe, is the strongest power in so far in Tactics. So I'm a big fan of the Trossum personally. So I think it's a better card overall than the Owl, which is the other one. The Owl does have that special rule, ignoring the unique rule, but I feel like if you're at a higher skill ceiling, I think you're going to get more value out of the Trossum. Next, we got the Skyson here. It's kind of got some Avatar vibes going on. Debut, move Skyson and a friendly ally in this field to an adjacent field. So, well, again, one of those you got to be kind of mindful of where you're putting it, because it's not going to stay there. So as soon as it debuts, it moves, right? But it takes an ally with it. So again, you can get an ally into a field that it might not normally be able to get into. So pretty interesting, pretty unique card there. And then ongoing, when scoring, if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, Skyson has +3 power. So he's an 8 when scoring, which is really strong, right? I mean, the only other card that's like that is, or that's an 8 right out the gate, is the Chrism, right? And he's the highest printed power in the entire game. So yeah, Skyson here can be really strong, and it's in Ferocity. You do a lot of discarding in Ferocity, so you're burning through hand resources pretty quickly. So having 3 or less cards in your hand when scoring is pretty likely, or relatively easier to do, considering it's Ferocity. Now, looking at these new fields here, let's go ahead and look at the Crag first. This is Griffin's Crag, and this is kind of what I was talking about. 2 cost or lower ally cards cannot be played to this field. I keep having it in my head that it's 2 power or less, but it's 2 cost. 2 cost or lower allies cannot be played in this field. So something like the Skyson or even a Tornado can really get some creatures in here, and your opponent might be struggling to get creatures in this field. I also like to put something like the Chrism in the Crag, because boom, that's just 8 power right out the gate. And then your opponent, they're having to get into some high cost stuff. Turn 1, they literally can't get, I won't say literally, because you could do Lucky Hat into a 3 cost ally, right? But generally, you only have two resources to use on turn 1, so your opponent can't get a 3 cost most of the time into the Crag on turn 1. So really strong field with the right familiars. There's also the Fertilis Cannon here that has, each player has -1 space in this field. So you can only ever have 3 creatures in this field. So again, this is another one that I kind of like to use with something like Might, because my creatures are typically bigger, right? They have more power than other ones. So where other decks might need to put 4 creatures into a field to combat the 3 creatures that Might has. They can't do that against in Fertilis Canyon, so that's really nice. Again, big fan of those. That's just general though. Like I'm just kind of generalizing it there, so it's not like all these are the Might is the best in all of these. I'm also just a big Might player, so I've got a little bit of bias going on, of course, but still trying to break it down the best I can. Next, we got the Haunted Glade. Before scoring, KO the lowest power creature in this field. If tied, KO all tied creatures. This can be really nice depending on kind of what you're running there, right? Again, using Might as an example, Might has a lot of bigger creatures. So, you can throw some big creatures in here. You might be a little bit more safe. And your opponent might have to, willingly sacrifice something. So yeah, Haunted Glade's pretty nice. It's also really nice for like spirit creatures. So like Haunted Glade, right? It's literally about spirits. But also looking at like our Sune creatures, our fox creatures here, they have KO effects, right? So the Silt Sune from the starter deck, KO, choose a field, give each opposing ally in it -1 power. We also have the Gelsune, which we're going to talk about in a minute. He has a KO effect. So again, these are spirits, which all really synergize pretty nicely with Haunted Glade. And they've got relatively low power, so you can kind of make them get hit decently easy in the Haunted Glade. So really cool strategy there. And then we just have a generic 2 victory point field, lowest printed scoring field so far, and it's a generic. I typically like the low scoring fields whenever I'm playing a lot of cards that do like VP gaining cards, right? So I believe it's the Adult. Where are you? Somewhere in here? Yeah. So like debut K, an opposing creature played this round. If they were wild, gain 1 VP. So if I'm playing a lot of cards that are gaining me VP other than by winning the field itself, I like to throw in these low scoring fields. And so my opponent, they're like, oh, I'm going to win this field. Okay, well, you got 2 victory points. Congrats. I got 3 victory points off of the cards that I played, right? So that's when I typically like those low scoring fields. All right, now looking at these new cards here that's been revealed. First up, we got the Shadoon, which is pretty nice. It's a 1 cost, 2 power creature, nothing too crazy there. But ongoing, when you play an item card, give a friendly creature +1 power. Anything. It can be a familiar, an ally, doesn't matter. Really generic, +1 power. It stays. It's not temporary. So in an item-heavy deck, the Shadoon is just crazy value. I mean, it's a 1/2, but I mean, you're going to be putting up some really good numbers in an item deck, right? And especially if you have an item that is a 0 cost, right? Like an example here, the Foxtail Necklace is a 0 cost item, so you can just like play it, for free and trigger your Shadoon. So that's pretty cool. There's also other stuff like the hat. Yeah. Lucky Hat item here. It's a 0 cost as well. So the Shadoon can really, really ramp up some craziness going on. Next we got the Sparalt here, which I like the Sparalt. I think it's a really cool card. It might not feel overly impactful right off, but a turn 1 Sparalt is pretty spicy, right? Especially if you're going first. 2 cost, 4 power, so pretty respectable there. Debut, choose an opposing support resource and turn it face down. A lot of times, people will mulligan into, they're like, okay, I don't like this hand. I don't have any of my good supports. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan and try to get my support. Hey, I got my support. I'm going to go ahead and resource that. And then the opponent just Sparrow, flip it down. You don't get that value for the rest of the game. So, some really good ones are like Lucky Hat. Again, talking about Lucky Hat, support, draw a card. That's 4 draws you're going to deny your opponent with that Sparrow there for the rest of the game, as well as something like an Alistair's Guide. So seek 4, put 2 cards in hand instead of just the 1, right? But Then the support, move a tame ally to an adjacent field to give a friendly familiar +1. That's 4 power you're denying your opponent getting, as well as 4 moves, right? If if you think about the one use inspiration, right? The mastery card here, that's a one-time use in the whole game. And then you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to deny 4 uses, basically, if you hit that Alistair's Guide with the Sparrow. So, yeah, Sparrow can be really, really solid for sure. If used correctly, I should say. And then the last card we have here is another item card. Again, great for the Shadoon, and it's in Might, so that's awesome as well. Might actually has a few item cards here, so you don't have to rely on linking the Shadoon up with another style to get its use. You can get plenty of use out of it in Might by itself. So I really like this card. It's a 3 cost. It's kind of like one of your big, like, sucker punch to the face kind of cards. Like, all right, it's going to cost a lot, but I should be able to get some pretty good value out of it. So choose up to 4 creatures for each one you choose. One of the following effects. So you cannot choose a single target effect twice. So you can give a creature 4 power, another one 3 power, and another one 2 power, and then another one block. So this is basically kind of a different, I say different, it's a different version of the Unity Tactics, which is also a 3 cost. Then give each friendly ally 2 power and block. If you have 6 or more creatures with block, gain 2 VP. I've only ever gotten the VP scoring once ever. Usually I'm like sitting at like 5. So I can't always get the Unity Tactics off. But it's 2 power across roughly, I mean, it's only allies, so you're not going to be able to give this to your familiars, which Volt Rock can give to familiars. So say I've got like 4 creatures, 4 allies out, that's going to be 8 power that I'm giving out at most, right? And then if you look at Volt Rock is 7, 8, 9 power that it can give out across only needing 3 creatures in play. So Unity Tactics needs 4 creatures to get 8. Volt Rock only needs 3 creatures to get 9. Not saying that Volt Rock is just immediately better, right? It depends on your build. Unity Tactics is stronger, I would say, if you are running a lot of low-cost creatures and you're really filling up your field a whole bunch, right? Especially if you're like, again, go back to the Trossum, where Trossum is just spitting out all these tokens all over the place, and then you're like, okay, Unity Tactics, every single one of my fields is full, right? So that's what, 8, 9, 10 creatures, all getting 2 power each, so that's 20 power in total. I know I'm like shooting for the moon with this, but that is a potential of Unity Tactics. Whereas Volt Rock, I like if you play a lot of, fewer creatures that are more like beefy, then I like the Volt Rock. So, and it can hit your familiars, whereas Unity Tactics will only hit your allies. So yeah, just I like having both available for choosing for deck building, because yeah, it just depends on what your overall strategy is. So when you're choosing. Jumping down here into special now, we have the Moonlight Aura. This card has speed. It is a 0 cost. It is a skill card. Shuffle 2 special attack tokens into your deck, then draw a card. I mean, this is just an instant, like, draw card, right? So it's a 0 cost. Let me draw a card. It has speed, so it doesn't like take away my action. Like, this is a fantastic, I would just want to say a deck thinning card, right? We're already playing 30 cards in our deck. We draw 7. We can get a mulligan off, so we have a decent chance of drawing the stuff we want in early game. But then you also include the Moonlight Auras, and then you're just thinning the deck even more to get to those really important cards. Now you're like, well, you're putting special attack tokens in there, right? So you're not really thinning it out if you're putting 2 extra cards in there, except for the special attack here is also speed. It's a 0 cost. Give an opposing creature -1 power and draw a card. So even if you draw this, you just instantly draw another one. So like you can just use the special attack to just draw another card. So yes, you're putting cards into your deck, but you're putting 0 cost draw cards in there, so it's not that big a deal. And then -1 power on a creature, which is really nice for like clearing block off of something, right? It's like, well, I've got my removal card in hand, but it has block. I need to get rid of that block first so I can use my removal card on the creature. Special attacks are great for that. It's like, okay, 0 cost, get rid of your block, right? And I draw a card now, and it's got speed, so then I can immediately follow it up with my removal card. Which can also be really important because without that speed, they could potentially put block right back on the creature with something. So it's really nice that special attack also has speed, so you can follow it up. So Moonlight Aura, very, very solid card for special. Coming down here to the Gelsene, which we looked at earlier, it is a 2 cost, only 3 power here, but ongoing, when you play another spirit card, you may reset a creature in this field. Now what that means is basically you're getting rid of the plus or minus like power, right? So it's a, what is it? You may reset a creature, so it can be ally or familiar. Say your opponent has a familiar of like plus 10 power, you're like, okay, reset that back, get rid of all that plus 10 power. Or on your, in reverse there, it's like, oh, well, you put -4 power on one of my creatures, so I'm just going to reset it and get rid of all that negative power, so now I'm back to my normal normal power there. So that's really nice. Now it's any other spirit card, so play another spirit card. Right here, Foxtail Necklace, 0 cost, it is a spirit card. So you can actually trigger the Gelsene off of something. So not just creatures are spirit cards. You can have item cards. I assume we'll eventually get probably some spirit skill cards if there's not already, and I'm just forgetting. So yeah, nice flexible card here. And then KO, add this to its owner's row as a resource, not even expended, so you can immediately use it. And it has a support ability, so it's going to go face up. Support, give a friendly ally block. Just, oh my gosh, such a great card. I mean, assuming you're triggering these effects, right? So, and this is such a hugely flexible card in everything that it's doing. Really, really nice. You could just support it right from the beginning, or you can, wait and then play it out. Maybe use its ongoing, depending on what your opponent has going on. If they're really, really powering up their creatures, you're like, okay, let me reset those right quick. And that's really, really nice. And then even if they do deal with it, then it just going to come back as a support, giving friendly ally block, like not even the card you like use the Gelsene to pay for, like it's any ally. So yeah, really strong. Next up though is the Enchantress. Now this is a strong card, especially in special. Okay, so it's a 2 cost. Essentially it's a 0 power right off the gate, right? But then, so debut, shuffle 1 special attack token into your deck for each opposing creature in this field. Not too bad. You can get, 4 special attacks potentially into your deck, which, so it's going to be nice. We already talked about how special attack, those can be really useful. But this was pretty wild in the Battle Royale where you have 4 players, right? And each player can go to a field. So you could potentially have 12 special attack tokens. So it's for each opposing creature in this field. And yeah, if you've got 3 opponents also in your field and they are all full, you could potentially put 12 special attack tokens into your deck. Could you imagine, like, draw a special attack, play, -1, draw a card, draw another special attack, -1, draw another card, -1, just keep going and going and going, would be absolutely bananas. Now, but the selling point for this card, of course, is it's ongoing. This ally has power equal to the number of resources you have. In special, we see it all the time. By the end of turn 4, right, or even turn 3, there is a full 9 cards, right? They're all filled up all the way to 9 resources. So then this guy has a 9 power, 2 cost, 9 power creature here. Is just absolutely incredible, which is a really good target to put block on, right? Because your opponents will always try to remove your enchantresses. Like, they're just so strong in special that your opponent cannot let this sit around scoring for too long at all. So a good target to put block on for sure. All right, coming down here into tactics now. Well, actually, the next two cards are two of my very favorite cards in tactics here. These two in Lucky Hat, like primo cards. I love the Skyer here. So 2 cost, 3 power, nothing too crazy there. It has speed, so you immediately got to follow up with something else. But debut in this field, shuffle up to 2 opposing ally cards into their owner's deck, which dodges any sort of KO mechanics, right? Because you're not KOing them. So really great way to dodge any sort of problematic KO effects. And then put them into the deck so they don't even go to the trash. So your opponent can't self amulet and bring one right back out or something like that. They're not going to get any sort of value off of them going into the discard. Yeah, and it's 2. You just shuffle up to 2 opposing ally cards. Now, yes, they are 2 ally cards, but that's okay because or return an opposing familiar back to their owner's bench. Also, really, really strong. This is one of those primary cards that likes to counter the Chrism, because the Chrism can't be KO'd. It just resets. So that's wonderful. So this can actually get around the dang Chrism's ability to not be KO'd. You just force them right back to the bench. And, that works on all of them too. So just being able to dodge around any sort of problematic stuff like that is really, really great. It's so flexible. The shuffle up to 2 opposing ally cards though, like that's definitely my favorite use of it, because a 2 cost to potentially clear out maybe 2 3-cost cards, right? So that's 6 resources of value there that I'm getting. So a 2 for 6, that is so great. I love this guy. Really, really powerful card. Next, we have Reprieve here, which is a skill item card. Really interesting. It has speed on it. It is a 2 cost. 2 cost for like skill cards and item cards and stuff like that. I kind of, feel a little awkward here and there about it. I don't normally like to do it unless it's like maybe a removal. I don't mind spending those kind of cards on clearing the field. Volt Rock and Unity Tactics aside. But for 2 costs are really rare for me to really like. But choose a friendly familiar. If you are winning their field, they gain +2 power, and you may play a 1 cost or less card from your hand. Essentially, kind of making this a 1 cost, right? If you want to view it like that, if you're going to get a free 1 cost value out of it. So 1 cost, gain 2 power. Okay. Like, that's not bad per se. I wouldn't necessarily want to do that. It's kind of nice when you're it's a skill and an item card, so you can trigger lots of stuff like the Shadoon we talked about earlier. This is an item card, so you could also trigger the Shadoon. It is a skill card, so if you needed to discard a skill card to trigger like your Infernander to get that -2 power, this has really good flexibility for that. But the real power is if you are losing their field, they gain +3 power and you gain 2 VP. So definitely one of those that you want to save for when you're losing a field. Boom, give them 3 power and you get 2 VP. That feels really good. So that's when I like to use Reprieve for sure. And then the last card we have here for tactics is the Psymonk, a 4-cost card. I think this is the most expensive cost card that we've seen so far revealed as a 4-cost and only 2 power. What? That doesn't feel right. But debut, play 2 random ally cards from an opponent's discard to any field. Give each ally played this way +2 power. So being able to get 2 ally cards also, so it's a 4 cost to get 3 bodies on field. That's pretty good. Like, even if you're just getting 2 1 costs, every card in this game is useful. So even like 1 costs are fine. Like grabbing an Ignition to then also, which becomes a 3 power, and then the Ignition also gives your 2 familiars +1 power. That's a lot of value going on out of this Psymonk. Now, it is random ally cards, so you don't get a pick. So you got to be kind of careful and time it just right on the Psymonk. But you can also get crazy good value. Being able to play like 2 3 costs for only 4. So I mean that's wild, and they get +2 power. Really, really good. Uh, Going here into Ferocity, I love this card. Sacrificial Bond. For me, Ferocity really, really needed something like this. Like, desperately, I felt like I needed a ramp card of some type. And it's so perfect. So it's speed, 0 cost, KO a friendly ally to draw a card, and add this card as an exhausted resource. So especially like those turn 1 plays, it's like, okay, let me just drop like this 1 cost card, and now boom, I'm gonna go ahead and KO it to draw a card, right? Because we don't have a lot of draw either in Ferocity, so being able to draw a card and gain a resource out of it that feels really good. Also, if you're, of course, comboing it with like KO effect creatures, then even better to get that value going on there. So I love Sacrificial Bond. Like, for me, that pretty much goes in every Ferocity deck I'm ever going to play moving forward, right? Until, I don't know, something even better replaces it, which I don't see that happening anytime soon because that card's super, super solid for Ferocity. Next, we got the Sylphunk. Straight line skunk. It's tame, two cost, 3 power. Nothing too crazy there. It does have speed, but ongoing. When you play or discard a skill card from your hand, Sylphunk gains +1 power and gives an opposing ally in this field -1 power. So Sylphunk and the Infernander together are just absolutely popping off. Discard a single skill card. To then trigger your Infernander to give -2 power, trigger your Sylphunk to give another -1 power, and give itself +1 power. All for discarding a single skill card is just so good. But then you can also play it as well with the Sylphunk. So yeah, a skill-based deck with Sylphunk and Infernander, pretty cool. So he can really get really powered up. So it's only a 3 power starting out, but he can get pretty crazy. And then the last card we've got to reveal so far is the Rapture. So it is our dinosaur boy here. So 3 cost, 3 power. Like, feels kind of awkward, right? But debut, KO all wild creatures in this field, which will include your own. So kind of keep that in mind. KO all wild creatures in this field, including your opponent, including yours. At least he himself is tame, so you don't have to kill himself. But then ongoing, when a creature is KO'd in this field, Rapture gains +1 power and block. So, I mean, realistically, as soon as you play him, he's going to be at least a 4 power, right? I imagine you're going to play him to kill more than one thing, though. So, you know, realistically, he's a 3/5 with block, I would say. Which, 2/5 block is the Tortu. So you need a little bit more value than that. But he's also removing bodies off field. So maybe, a 3/5, but if you're removing, 3-4 power off your opponent's side of the field, then you can maybe view it as like a 3/9, with block. So all that said, right, let's go ahead and look at what we're revealing today for our alt art that we get to show off for you guys. So we've got a alt art for the Tortu here, and like, I love the colors on this. It really pops. Don't mind, it's a little bit grayed out just because of like opening it. So you can see it's a lot more vibrant, right? So like, the actual card of it is going to be super vibrant. But then I'll just show you this one so you can see it a little bit bigger. Really cool. I love this one so much more than the one we've already seen, which I believe is right here. Yeah. So this is the normal artwork, and then this is going to be the alt art. So that's super nice. I love it. Just the style of it is really cool. And again, the vibrancy of this card, like the colors are just like so intensive. And I really like that. Really helps it pop. It'll pop, on field when you're playing the physical cards and stuff like that. So that's really great. Now, what other alt arts have we seen so far? So the Sacrificial Bond, this is one of the alt arts. You can see it's stretched all the way to the edge here. Really neat way to see it there in action. Moonlight Aura, this one was also one of the alt arts that have been revealed here. the Psymonk, which we saw earlier. You just see a real big close up, kind of like an old school Pokemon card, right? Where it's just like filling the frame of the card. Just the whole thing is just super zoomed out. Or zoomed in, I should say, versus like the Psymonk on the tree of the regular artwork. The Sylphunk here, this is one of the alt arts. Again, kind of got that same vibe that the Moonlight War had. It's like I want to say like a spray painty kind of vibe to it, which is really interesting. A really interesting choice to go with there. The Jelly Cane, which we revealed a while back, I think this card will look fantastic foiled. It's again one of those like super zoomed in views of it. This foiled will look really good. That purple, I'm sure, is going to be really nice when it's foiled. Lucky Hat, also one of the alt arts that's been revealed so far. Really, I love this because the normal one is just the hat, right? The hat sitting there on a table. Where this, like, look at the mountains, the snow covered mountains, right? There's some sort of like house or village down here. We've got Titus with his adult, so looking forward to the next Tamer challenge with Titus in it. Because I'm guessing that means that we're going to see an adult as one of the familiars for him. Curious to know what his name is going to be. There's supposed to be another Might card, so we've only seen one Might alt art revealed so far, so there should be another one. I don't know how many more they're going to reveal though. What cards do you guys want to see an alt art revealed of? I think one of the ones I want to see a Judge's Decree. I want to see what another one of these guys looks like. Curious to see what all they do. Is going to be another referee, right? But yeah, that'll do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the reveals that we've got to see so far. I'm curious to know if we're going to get any more reveals before the end of the Kickstarter. There's some really great stuff. Oh, a Skyer. I would love to see a Skyer alt art. Like, I love this already. Like, this is fantastic. So what else we could see as an alt art of this? I can't imagine topping this because I love this one so much. But yeah, those are probably my two that I'm like, oh, I'd love to see those guys, see what alt arts they're going to be. Hopefully I pull them, right? So we're going to do a box opening, of course, when we get all of our product in. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Any other coverage you guys want to see on the channel, please let me know.